All right, hello guys. This is an apologetics 101 class. I'm going to play it once again, and I'm going to first off, I got to move the screen, or let's go stop recording. So once again, let me do this, and I'll just move it real quick. While I'm talking, I have to move the screen. So please just let me give you this opening. The great Jordan Peterson, a Russian by descent, by ethnic descent, also a psychologist by training, probably one of the most intelligent men in the world, has read, I would say, hundreds of thousands of books, more than most Christians, most regular human beings will even read. Okay, and we know how much college forces us to read, master's degree, PhD, they call us to read. But how many people outside of those worlds actually read for just the knowledge and the love of reading? We live in a YouTube world where people just spend time watching a video like the TV. We went back in the day where we sit in front of a big old box and watch television all day. Instead of reading to learn, I'm about to listen to this man have a debate, and it's called Jubilee, and they make their money off of having debates with the younger generation. And because Jordan Peterson has become a icon of, if you're not aware of him, please look him up on Chat GPT. But he became an icon when he defended the Christian right against the liberal atheist left, the LGBTQ left. He had a moment on history where he was in Europe where a woman who obviously was a newscaster, a female, very intelligent, debated him, and he stood up against the LGBT on the aspects of pronouns. Yeah, that mad word, pronouns. And he said, I'm not going to call somebody by what they want to be called. I'm going to call you by your genitalia. Now we have a movement where people want to be transsexual, and but the problem is you may be able to cut off your penis, but you cannot make a vagina. And an actual vagina with ovaries that work, that create kids, it's impossible. They're trying to find scientific ways to do it, but they're not going to, because Yahweh created us and we are made in His image and after His likeness, and I stand on it and I will die on that. We're going to hear a quick debate between Jordan Peterson, given in a pretty much a scenario using the Ashkenazi Jews of World War II, and stating that the Jews, they lied to save their family. The Anne Frank story that everybody talks about, the Holocaust. Just like, but he didn't, but just the guy that's speaking is a young white guy, and he's going to have a debate, pretty much on one of these hypotheticals. And the question is going to be very interesting as it's posed. And I want you to listen carefully, but also look at the transcripts, because, and you can slow this down later on for y'all who may not be fast in reading comprehension or listening comprehension. Not to knock you down, but I'm just saying everybody doesn't comprehend the same speed, okay? But this is a phenomenal video. I'm upload this part of it because it's touched my mind in the last few minutes, and I got to talk about it. So here we go. Turn on the comments. Here we go.
How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I guess since you said morality and purpose cannot be found in science, it would just depend on what you're referencing. If you're saying a description of your psychological preferences would be considered within science, sure. But I don't think that you have to say that it comes from science in order to be like an atheist. As an agnostic atheist, I don't know if God exists and I don't believe that a God exists. And the only ones that I would really reject would be like the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good, perfect notion of God that plenty of Christians prescribe themselves. So I guess
How is that relevant to this claim?
You're basing a position of morality and purpose in some notion of God that isn't the same type of notion of God that typical Christians would prescribe. Your notion of God is
what typical Christians?
Yeah, typically when I talk to Christians, they say that they believe in an all-knowing.
How about Cardinal Newman, who defined God as conscience? He's a major influence on all of Catholic social theory. How about that Christian?
Sure. So do you believe in the all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good notion of God?
What do you mean by believe?
You think it to be true.
That's the circular definition. What do you mean
How
when
is
you
that
say you
circular?
believe?
How is that circular?
Because you added no content to the answer by substituting the word true and believe.
I said you think it to be true.
All right. So if
What's
you
a belief?
believe something, you stake your life on it.
What do you mean by that?
You live for it and you die for it. That's what I mean by that. It isn't something that you say. It isn't something that's associated with logical consistency. It's not declarative. It's not propositional. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's the presupposition of your attention and your action. And you're either fragmented, in which case you worship multiple gods, or there's some unity at the bottom of it that makes you an unstoppable force.
Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe something if you wouldn't die for it?
Not really, no.
Okay. So then,
How would you define belief? Something you say?
Okay, so I explain. Like, I could believe it is the case that this pen exists, but if someone like threatened my life, right, I would lie in order to be able to save my life, right? Like, I think you would do that too. You wouldn't lie to save your
Don't be
life.
so sure.
You wouldn't lie to save your life.
How much do you know about me? I didn't lie to save my career. I didn't lie to save my clinical practice.
Would you lie to like save your children, your mom, your dad?
I don't think lying would save them.
No, can there ever be a circumstance logically that lying could save someone?
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany, and it is the case that there's like Jewish people in your attic, and you're trying
I
to
know
protect
the
them,
example.
would you lie to like the Nazis? If
I
they're
would have done
asking?
everything I bloody well could, so I wouldn't be in that situation
you
to begin
lie?
with. It's a hypothetical, and it's
You
not
can't answer
answerable.
hypotheticals.
No, I can't answer a hypothetical like
What?
that because
Did
it's
you eat
far.
today?
Look,
Did you eat
don't
today?
play games.
I'm not playing a game. I'm just
Yes,
asking if you
you
ate
are.
it.
If you present me with an intractable moral choice that's stripped of context and you back me into a corner, you're playing game. I just told you
Hypothetical?
I would do everything that I could to make sure that I'm never in that situation. By the time you've got there, you've made so many mistakes that there's nothing you can do that isn't a sin.
Being born in Nazi Germany and trying to protect people that you care about, like there could be a Jewish friend that you have, and you want to protect them.
I think you should
have
just
them in
give
your
up on
attic.
that line of questioning.
Give up on just like trying to clarify your position? Because you
I
don't
did
like, are you
clarify
like
it.
uncomfortable with me asking this question? It's just a basic hypothetical. Like I could ask you.
It's just a
did you-
basic
yeah, yeah.
hypothetical
Like,
where you
like if
put Jews' lives at stake in Nazi Germany. That's just a basic hypothetical.
obviously you would lie in that scenario to save their life, but you're like not trying to answer this question for some reason.
I just told you why.
Are you anti-fascist? Like, so you're
Why are
anti-fascist?
you asking that?
I was just asking, just clarifying. But like, okay, again, you're not answering this hypothetical because you know it shows that you clearly would lie to save
I'm
someone's life.
answering it in
Obviously,
a
that's not
manner
what
you
truth
don't
is.
find acceptable.
Obviously, 'cause I care about
you're-
truth.
I wouldn't be in that scenario.
Obviously, right? Logically, because that's
No.
already happened. Like that's in the past. You don't have a time travel device. We're bringing this logical hypothetical up to show you that in some circumstances that do happen within the real world, you would lie to save people's lives. So your definition of truth isn't actually how we're typically using it. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to muddy the waters when I ask you, like, do you believe this? Do you think this to be true? So you don't actually have to answer the questions. And plenty of Christians don't like that because they clearly see that you don't really like want to be associated with
I can
Christianity with that
imagine
respect.
that I was in a situation where the best I could do as a consequence of my previous mistakes was to tell the least amount of lie I could manage. But that would likely indicate that I had made all sorts of catastrophic errors on my way there.
So
Right.
you would lie to save someone's life. So again, you do believe it to be true in that circumstance, even though you like lied in that scenario. So
Not
clearly that's
without
not what
the
you see to be true.
context that I put it in.
You were not willing to
I
die for it. You
said-
were not willing to let other people die for it. So that's not what you see to be true then, seemingly.
You're doing exactly what I said you were doing at the beginning of the conversation. You're generating an impossible, restricted, hypothetical with no precursors to back me into a
How is
corner.
it possible? Is there something contradictory about it? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
great conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they say youth is wasted on the young. That's a term I got a long, long time ago. And as you saw in the video, this young man felt like he was so accurate in his statements. But again, youth is wasted on the young because the youth do not have enough years of reading history to know everything or even have a strong enough argument. It lines up with the statement he brought up about the so-called Jews of Germany. I'm going to show you something that's going to destroy this argument. And it hits hard because I have a video that I put up about 3 years ago, and it's gotten lots of about 3,000 views. It's going to blow up because it's truth. And let's go here. Let's go and let me show you. All right, doing your search and type FAC. There we go. Facts are Facts by Benjamin H. Friedman. Once you type that, my video will come up. I'm the first one in the list because so far I have the most views. And again, it may come, someone else may come out with something, and it's great. This is a book by Ashkenazi from Germany who came to America, and he exposed the whole reason the Holocaust happened, because there's a lot of arguments that are shown to be true that the Holocaust that everyone talks about was not actually accurate. They said 1 million Jews, were exterminated in 4 years, and the fact of the matter was there wasn't 1 million Jews in Germany and Poland at all. And the question we had to ask, and many psychologists were asking for years about why did World War One happen? Why did World War Two happen? Well, you find out as you study this book from an actual Jew that it happened because, and I will turn the mute
whether
off,
called Konam.
and this is, I'll rewind it back to the beginning page and stop it. Thank you. It happened because the people, which were very wealthy Ashkenazi, that had migrated from Khazaria, which is next to Russia, through Russia. Then from Russia, they went west and through many countries as gypsies, as immigrants, being cast out of different places and intermixing or interracially mixing with the men, and the women were mixing with the men of that time. And then what would happen is they would build up their wealth and do it again in another country, in another country, in another country. I'm going to give you a lot of information in a short period of time, but you can go to this book. I have Chat GPT playing it to you so you can be able to listen and while you drive, but also I show you on the pages so you can read it in your office without having to buy the book. Thank God we got YouTube. This book is like $11, but it's worth it to get it because this could be taken down tomorrow. But praise God, we'll have it back up again because I have the video. But it's a defector who warns America in 1954. He was having an actual conversation in a letter, a long letter, which really became a book. And his letter, he wrote all these different conversations about what we were told and how their lies. I brought this out on March the 5th, 2023. And I was scared to bring it out because I just was like, the term anti-Semitism is always used against anybody who talks about these people. But when you understand who the real chosen people of God, you cannot be afraid of those that use the term anti-Semitism. As Jordan Peterson just said, belief, okay, and true are two different things. But what is basically belief? He said it's something that you're willing to die for. Die. So the question the young man asked was, would you lie to save your family? Would you lie? And that comes right back to the aspect of God, because the whole premise of his book, in the Bible, teaches us about moral codes, about lying being one of the 10 sins in the 10 commandments that God gave our chosen ancestors that we still apply to this day. That's why we have the laws of America and the world and attack those that lie, because it's against the commands of God. But his statement he makes here, as you see, it got Mr. Peterson pissed because he knows what we call psychology and we call circular reasoning. So he tried to use a technique that you learn in philosophy class of trying to get people into ego. And the young man was trying to get mad, been trying to get Mr. Peterson upset. Mr. Peterson got mad because he knew the circular trap that he was. But thank God he got voted out and the video stopped. But the fact is, when he makes an argument about the so-called Ashkenazi, and you read this actual book, it will destroy the statements that this guy is saying, and you'd be like, this kid don't even understand that the Ashkenazi of that time, the rich people that had all of the Judean, so-called stores in Germany were robbing the German people so bad that the Germans got angry at them. And then let's take you to a page in the book. Let's go to right here. Right here. 1 hour and six
E.
minutes.
Morgenthau, Sr.
And you
Here
can read
y'all.
it on the
See the
stop.
y'all.
Once again, I had
Find
to
out.
stop and go back. I tapped it real careful. 1 hour and 6 minutes.
E.
And then I
Morgenthau,
have to
Sr. In the 1912 campaign when President Wilson was elected, and there was talk around the office there. I was confidential man to Henry Morgenthau, Sr., who was chairman of the Finance Committee, and I was liaison between him and Rollo Wells, the treasurer. So I sat in these meetings with President Wilson at the head of the table, and all the others, and I heard them drum into President Wilson's brain the graduated income tax and what has become the Federal Reserve, and I heard them indoctrinate him with the Zionist movement. Justice Brandeis and President Wilson were just as close as the two fingers on this hand. President Woodrow Wilson was just as incompetent when it came to determining what was going on as a newborn baby. That is how they got us into World War I, while we all slept. They sent our boys over there to be slaughtered. For what? So the Jews can have Palestine as their commonwealth. They fooled you so much that you don't know whether you're coming or going. Now any judge, when he charges a jury, says, "Gentlemen, any witness who you find has told a single lie, you can disregard all his testimony." I don't know what state you come from, but in New York State that is the way a judge addresses a jury. If that witness told one lie, disregard his testimony. What are the facts about the Jews? I call them Jews to you, because they are known as Jews. I don't call them Jews myself. I refer to them as so-called Jews, because I know what they are. The Eastern European Jews, who form 92% of the world's population, of those people who call themselves Jews, were originally Hazars. They were a warlike tribe who lived deep in the heart of Asia. And they were so warlike that even the Asiatics drove them out of Asia into Eastern Europe. They set up a large Hazar kingdom of 800,000 square miles. At the time, Russia did not exist, nor did many other European countries. The Hazar kingdom was the biggest country in all Europe, so big and so powerful that when the other monarchs wanted to go to war, the Hazars would lend them 40,000 soldiers. That's how big and powerful they were. They were phallic worshippers, which is filthy, and I do not want to go into the details of that now. But that was their religion, as it was also the religion of many other pagans and barbarians elsewhere in the world. The Hazar king became so disgusted with the degeneracy of his kingdom that he decided to adopt a so-called monotheistic faith, either Christianity, Islam, or what is known today as Judaism, which is really Talmudism. By spinning a top, and calling out Eni, Mene, Mine, Mo, he picked out so-called Judaism. And that became the state religion. He sent down to the Talmudic schools of Pumbedita and Sura and brought up thousands of rabbis, and opened up synagogues and schools, and his people became what we call Jews. There wasn't one of them who had an ancestor who ever put a toe in the Holy Land. Not only in Old Testament history, but back to the beginning of time. Not one of them. And yet they come to the Christians and ask us to support their armed insurrections in Palestine by saying, "You want to help repatriate God's chosen people to their promised land, their ancestral home, don't you? It's your Christian duty. We gave you one of our boys as your Lord and Savior. You now go to church on Sunday, and you kneel and you worship a Jew, and we're Jews." But they are pagan Hazars who were converted just the same as the Irish were converted. It is as ridiculous to call them people of the Holy Land, as it would be to call the 54 million Chinese Muslims Arabs. Muhammad only died in 628 AD. And since then 54 million Chinese have accepted Islam as their religious belief. Now imagine, in China, 2,000 miles away from Arabia, from Mecca and Muhammad's birthplace. Imagine if the 54 million Chinese decided to call themselves Arabs. You would say they were lunatics. Anyone who believes that those 54 million Chinese are Arabs must be crazy. All they did was adopt as a religious faith a belief that had its origin in Mecca, in Arabia. The same as the Irish. When the Irish became Christians, nobody dumped them in the ocean and imported to the Holy Land a new crop of inhabitants. They hadn't become a different people. They were the same people, but they had accepted Christianity as a religious faith.
So now, with that being said, I'm going to stop there. You can go to the video, watch my video, listen to it. It's broken down in different chapters. And if you're interested in getting it for yourself, for those that are not, that have laptops or computers, I will encourage you to go to Kindle.com, and that's connected to Amazon if you don't have an Amazon account. And you can download it on the Kindle. And there's an app that you can get. So you go online and look at your Kindle, right? And but most people have a Kindle, which is what that is right there. But you can now put it on the iPad and things like that. And so in my Kindle, I have bought this, and praise God, you can actually look at your Kindle and you can see as I go into my books, I'll show you all the things I have on my Kindle, because I want you to know that I'm getting this information from the actual Amazon bookseller and not from my head. This ain't no lie I'm making up, all right? So I will come right back, and I'll keep the video going. I'll keep the video going. Yeah, I keep the video going. All right, so let's go get Kindle. I have Kindle here. I thank God for iPad. And here's my Kindle. It should be automatically logged in. And I'll show you the books that I have. I have, so they got to make a sign in again, no problem. So I'll go sign on in. And once I sign on in, oh, turn off that password. I don't want my password being shown to nobody. Hello. So once again, the button. There we go. Oh, come on now. I got to once again. Oh, stop. I don't want to. Yeah. Well, you can't get into my computer. So you might see this code, but that ain't my password. So, okay. You may see me do this, but this ain't, I have updated passwords and security protection, so you can't see my real password. All right, so log in. And I gotta solve a puzzle. All right, let's solve the puzzle. Clocks, 2, 3, 5, and I love this because I failed it. Again, sometimes this is a double check to make sure we have MFA, multi-factor authentication. Uh-oh, I gotta update my passcode on my iPad. So this is my password was changed. So I will have to come back, but I can't show that to you for the video's sake. So I'll have to come back and log in a little bit later. But we'll get back to the video, and I'll do a separate part 2 where I take you to the book and let you see all my books. And so once I get past not giving out any password information, but why this is so important, i.e., was because of that last statement that was given
It's
by
not what you
this
see to be
kid
true.
right here. He thought that he was so intelligent and thought he could just basically, we do this in debate. If you are intelligent guys and you want to be a lawyer, you get into what's called debate. And in debate, you have to first learn philosophy. red herrings and the multiple types of fallacies that Plato, Aristotle, Greek, as and other cultures created. I mean, we're talking thousands of years of history. This is not something that we just come up with today. And so to use the so-called astronaut as a typical statement because it's average individuals are afraid, and because they're afraid, they will basically go after, pull out how hypotheticals like the Holocaust. The thing about I would have asked this stupid question: how many people died in World War II? You talk about this, the Jews lied, but look at the black, look at the people who made an oath to fight that war, and literally because of the belief that America was fighting for right. They went to combat and were shot and killed horrifically. The same way in Vietnam, the same way in Iraq, the same way in Afghanistan, the same way in the next war and the next war and the next war and the next war and the next war. But guys like these are what we call individuals that don't have a belief in anything but situational ethics. Now let's look at situational ethics, and I'm gonna give you that term for those that may be uneducated. Situational ethics. Okay, and what is situational ethics? It's basically this moral decision making framework that emphasizes context and circumstances over fixed rules. So, what that means is that based on the situation, I make a decision. So, if the situation is favorable, I do this. If it's going to be unfavorable for me, I'll do that instead of standing on a rule, aka you should not lie. God says, do not lie. But this guy right here just told you, hey, it's okay to lie. It's okay to lie to save my family. And lying is good. Do you know how many people lie and they still pay? Because the bottom line is like brother said, Jordan Peterson said, before you even got to that point, there's so many things that you did that done to put you there. But he didn't. The kid, you'll notice, he doesn't admit to those things. You'll notice in his statement, he just continues to ask questions. And you can stare at me all day long. And that's the one thing you have to learn about communication with other human beings. You can't let their emotion get you upset. And Mr. Peterson did get upset because he knew the game the guy was playing, and he didn't want to play that game. So we called out the fallacy the guy was using. And of course, they walked him off, and no one cared, because that's not intelligent discourse. That's what we call fallacious discourse. It's using a trick, as Jordan Mr. Peterson said it so eloquently. All right, but think about all the people that died for World War I, all the people that died for World War II, all the people who would die for World War III. I mean, believe me, baby, we're going to have a World War III, and people are going to die for it. My generation, I'm too old to serve, but I served, and I would have died for 9/11. I happened to be in seminary on the day it happened, but if I was in Army on active duty, I sure as heck would have went to Iraq, and I would have killed as many people as I could have for Americans, for the people that had lost their lives by those planes going into those buildings. I watched the first plane, the second plane hit. I watched the first tower fall, the second tower fall. I was at home in my little apartment in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, going to seminary at Raymond Bible College. That day was my first day with 450 other students, and it was the most powerful and tragic day in the last 25 years. There's never been, in the last years, a day that hit America as bad as 9/11, 2001. So, this young man has experienced that. He comes from a privileged life. He was taught, his whole mindset shows how he was raised. Because to be able to make these discourses, takes lots of years of teaching you these fallacies. And so the Bible teaches us that you train up a child in the way they should go, because when they get old, they won't depart from it. A lot of these kids were trained up in the way they should go as being atheists. They were trained up to be atheists. And because their moms and dad trained them to be atheists, that's what they are. I pray that God will convict them, because that's the ultimate question that I was shocked, because he's talking about God, and that's my cup of tea. I'm an apologist, and I want to be an apologist. I want to defend the gospel. I'm gonna die for the gospel. Praise God. But this is great, and I want you to watch that video and be blessed.